Welcome to the Sports Trading Card Hall of Fame. Today I'm going to be introducing Chapter 9, which is going to be including 3 stories of cardboard, and obviously I'm going to be elevating one of the previous stories up to the Binder of Fame. For the stories of cardboard, I'm going to be talking about, first off, the 1991-92 SkyBox Dream Team 3-card portrait. This is a triptych card, and normally I put one famous card in every single chapter. In this case, it's a 3-card group because there's no way you can separate them. They are literally a combined portrait. So I'm going to be talking about that, and I'm also going to be talking about the importance that Michael Jordan has had on sports cards, which has been pretty profound. I also want to talk about box bottoms, that great late 80s tradition that headed into the early 90s. So those are going to be the 3 stories of cardboard I'm going to talk about, but I'm going to be kicking it all off by elevating gold foil to the Binder of Fame. And for gold foil, when people talk kind of derogatory, playfully derogatory about modern cards, they often will refer to them as shiny cards. Now, normally what they're talking about is really the glossy surface, whether it's a semi-gloss or a high gloss. That's really kind of the key to it, is that it's no longer traditional cardboard as they're used to. But gold foil does play a significant part in that. However, gold foil is really more a thing of the 90s. Gold foil, silver foil, red, all the different foils are really more of a 90s affair, as opposed to, even in the new millennium, it hasn't been used that much. It's just not that big of a deal for more recent card developments. So it is more a affair of the 90s as in terms of how it developed the 90s cards, but also the way that 90s cards looked. And this was a really big issue for the evolution of cards in terms of how in the world do you use this? Because when the cards came out in 1989 and 1990 with Action Packed, it was way too much gold foil. And in 1991, Pacific did a better job with their Picks the Pros cards. But for the most part, card companies realized that gold foil for the card isn't going to work. I mean, you can look at Upper Deck holograms, which are essentially a foil card, and with nothing adorning them, just the effect, the cards look pretty bleak most of the time. Pacific did do a pretty good job eventually with Dynagon and Invincible by being able to create cards that were able to take advantage of a whole card, gold foil card surface done in a way that made it work. But they had to work at it. And Fleer tried a couple years later to do that as well on an insert, but with the whole surface of the card gold. And unfortunately, they learned the same lesson that Action Packed learned in 1992, where if you make the whole surface of the card gold with nothing on it, it's way too much. So that's rarely been done. But that's not the point, because the point is that gold foil is an accent. In fact, there are 2 ways that gold foil works and has been used. The first one is parallels. All you need to do is put a little bit of gold foil or red foil or blue foil, whatever color, put a little bit of foil on the card, and immediately it's an amazing improvement for an exciting parallel. SkyBox did that. Wildcard did that. That's all you need to do. You can also do it where you have gold foil on a main card, and then the parallels have different color foils. Maybe it's red and blue, maybe it's silver and platinum. This is something that Pacific was able to turn into their brand. And so that is a great opportunity. Obviously, Topps Gold is literally, you just added gold foil on it, nothing too special. But it seems special, and it really does help to create a lot of enthusiasm and excitement in collectors. But where gold foil really came through was being used as an accent. Think 1992 and 1993 Ultra. These are high gloss cards, impressive images, 3/4 bleed marble on the card, and it's really the gold foil that makes it work. That flash of bright color that comes through, and the gold foil and the logo. That's what makes those cards work so well. But if you really want to see how impressive it is, look at one of the single greatest card designs of all time, SPX specifically 1997. This is an all-time amazing card, all-time great. It has enough of a holofoil, or enough of a hologram. It's really good. It has etched foil on it. It has great rich team colors, and it has an accent of gold foil, just a pop of it. And that's all they needed to do to take this card and move it to another level. That's the beauty of gold foil, is it's able to work as an exciting addition, and it's also able to bring an elegance to the card. It can do both. And so gold foil was critical in card companies' evolution, figuring out how to make special new cards. And part of that was a difficult journey where, like in 1994, they had to learn you need more than just gold foil to make the card work. You definitely do. So it was a fun journey to go through the evolution of gold foil, but it was critical to how the 90s came about, how it evolved, and how it looked. I'm going to go more in depth on that in a standalone video, so definitely look out for that. But I want to move on to talk about the 3 stories of cardboard that I'm going to be discussing more in depth here on this channel. The first one was the Dream Team portrait card, or the 3 cards, the triptych. Now, triptych is a term that is used in art to refer to 3 panels that work together as one. Maybe it's one image spread across 3 panels. Maybe it's 3 images that work together as a combination. However it is set up, the whole point is, if you take one of the panels out, it doesn't mean the same thing. In sports cards, we've almost never had 3 cards that work together almost like a puzzle. We've had puzzles. Topps did it in the late 1960s. Fleer did it in the late 1970s with their stickers. In terms of just normal cards, we've almost never, well, I shouldn't say normal cards because technically the Topps cards were normal cards, but in terms of the front of the card for it to work, one of the few cases where we've seen multiple cards that work together is the Upper Deck Provision checklist cards, where you have Michael Jordan on the front, and then on the back you have checklist cards that don't fuse together in the correct way. It's weird how it was laid out, but that's one of the few cases where you need both cards to make it make sense. In the case of this triptych card, which would in fact inspire an insert set in the next year called School Ties, but in this case, this card was special on another level, because while this is from the 1991-92 set, this was from Series 2. So essentially, it's an early 1992 card. This comes just before Fleer and Ultra in 1992, where they significantly upgraded how inserts were made and how they were thought of. So here at the dawn of 1992, inserts were still, they were fun, but they weren't really, people weren't really pushing for them, because you had Donruss Elite, but past that there wasn't really a lot that inspired collectors. Inserts were great, but they were usually pack fillers. The thing that we were really driven by were subset cards, and just in 1992, that was kind of the last year you could really get away with subset cards, and by 1993 they were fading away in place of inserts. That was really where we were going. So when the Dream Team was announced in early 1992, Hoops and SkyBox got the contract, and so they were able to put cards in their Series 2 set of the Dream Team cards. Any other year after 1992, they would have been doing inserts. I mean, in 1992, 93, SkyBox, they did in fact have an insert set, which was an amazing looking insert set of the Dream Team players. But in 91-92, they had inserts in blister packs, but that wasn't the place they wanted to put them. No, they wanted them to be true chase cards in packs to really drive people to collect them. And these were the cards we were excited about. You know, Jordan had a couple of cards in the 1991-92 SkyBox set spread throughout. He had his main card. He had, I think he was on the team card. He had, was he on GQ? I don't think he was on the GQ, but he had a combos card. There were a whole bunch of cards. But the one we were all fired up about was his portrait card. That's the power that subset cards had, was that if you had a really iconic set, like the Dream Team cards and the other Olympic team cards, if you had those in your set, those were the cards that people were ripping packs to try to pursue. But there was a 3-card grouping within that in SkyBox, not in Hoops, but in SkyBox, that was on another level. And that was the 3 cards that combined to be a portrait of all 10 players. There are a couple of things that are great about this. Obviously, the concept of it was amazing. The portrait was great. But also the fact that they were all collectible in a different way. You know, Michael Jordan shows up on one card, and then you have another star on another card, another star on another card. And so you could actually pick and choose which cards you were going to collect, but rarely do you encounter them on an individual basis because they're almost always thought of as a group, as 3. And for collectors, we were all about this. There's only one other subset or subset equivalent card that has had this type of unique, iconic stature and was pursued at the same level, which was the 1990 Score Bo Jackson football baseball card. That's the only other card that can compare to this in terms of the sheer importance that it had for collectors and how distinct it was. So in early 90s cards, you're going to be hard-pressed to find another card that's truly as iconic as this, even though it's not a card that's very well talked about. And that's the reason I want to bring it up, because I want to get more into it, which I will do in a separate video, so definitely look out for that. Now, obviously, there's one name above all else here in this team, which is Michael Jordan, and he really drove things, not as much in 1991 and 92, but by 92, 93, we were in another level of the card industry was evolving, the sport of basketball was evolving, but Michael Jordan was moving into a tier that was unmatched. See, in 1990, when we were collecting cards in 1990, we were interested in players like Magic Johnson, Larry Bird, David Robinson, and Michael Jordan. Those 4 players were almost equally pursued. Jordan a little bit more, although David Robinson was right there with him. But by 1991-92, it was Jordan, and then there was Magic Johnson, and then Larry was a third to that. And then, you know, maybe like LJ, but for the most part, Michael had started to separate himself away from everybody else, not so much himself as much as our perception of him. We were now becoming really focused on Michael. And by 1992, that had moved into a gulf between him and everybody else. And so in 1993, 94, in that range, when he retired and we suddenly had no cards of his, the whole basketball card industry took a hit because we didn't know who to pursue. Who did we want to get all excited about? You know, Grant Hill, of course, was coming out, and he was the rookie we were pursuing. But when you look at these great players, I mean, you had players like David Robinson and Patrick Ewing and John Stockton and Reggie Miller, and there were so many great players. You know, Akeem Olajuwon, just go on with these names, but they all kind of seemed the same. And that was the thing about Michael Jordan, was that he became so distinct that he was carrying the rest of the league, and the rest of the league just kind of looked like, you know, the rest of the league. We were all driven by him. The sport needed that because he elevated the sport to becoming an equal member with baseball and with football. Something hockey could never achieve, but basketball was able to get there. And Michael's the player who really carried it to that point. But in card collecting, we needed to have somebody who we got fired up about in basketball. And Michael was that guy. You know, when you look over at baseball, you had athletes like Ty Cobb, and you had Babe Ruth, who were big names in a time before and in the early years of radio, when the nation was still disconnected. And so you had some names that were able to give Major League Baseball more coverage, but in a world like that, you don't care so much about people in Iowa being Yankees fans, because you're not going to get any money from them. And so those names helped to kind of lay the groundwork for Major League Baseball. But Major League Baseball was its own selling point in a way. It didn't need a superstar to carry it. By the time Mickey Mantle came around, he just happened to be the greatest player for a particular generation. That's all he was. He didn't help the game, and he didn't help the perception of the game. The NFL never had anybody who was at that level. It was basically the people running the league who made all of these great contributions to help the league turn into what it was. And so while Joe Namath certainly was a part of the story of the AFL being merged with the NFL didn't need, it had little bits of it. Like Red Grange had a little bit of time where it got people excited about the NFL. And that was helpful and all, but the league itself earned its own stripes along the way. Hockey, you had Wayne Gretzky, but Wayne Gretzky was only the player everybody knew, not the player who got people to watch hockey. That was what was different with Michael Jordan, was the fact that he was literally the reason people were getting involved with basketball. There's only one other athlete who's had that kind of an impact in America. I'm not going to speak about soccer internationally, anything like that. But in the US, only Tiger Woods has had that kind of an impact on his sport. But with Tiger Woods, when he stopped being a dominant player, people fell away from golf, and now golf's right back where it was. Not quite right back where it was, but basically he carried the league, but he didn't build the league. That's what Michael Jordan did. When Michael Jordan retired the first time, the league had moved up to a great point, but then it stepped back because we needed to now acclimate to a world without Michael Jordan. Jordan came back for 3 more years, and now we were able to fully comprehend the rest of the league. So by the time that he left the second time, now we knew to follow, whether it was Vince Carter or it was Allen Iverson or Tim Duncan. We had these superstars who we could now get really excited about, and we could follow them. So that was a critical thing for us. And then when Jordan came back, he basically kind of gave the league a bit of a boost. But the league did not regress the way that it had with Tiger Woods. When Michael Jordan left, we were able to adjust to the fact that we were basketball fans and we were following the NBA, following our teams, following other players. That was an important step, but he needed to have that kind of impact on the hobby as well as on the sport, such that when he left, we didn't know what to do. That's because we needed to make an acclamation, but we were there. The reason we were there was because of him, and that was critical. And for cards, that is unquestionably the case. I mean, as a set collector, I can tell you it is so frustrating how many card sets I have missing just one card because it's got a Jordan, and everybody wants to get the Jordan card. But that said, the basketball market is what it is, or it became what it became because of Michael. He was critical for that. So again, I'm going to get into that later on. The last story of cardboard I'm going to talk about this month is box bottoms, that gift of all gifts for young collectors. Now in the 1980s, when we were getting into cards, we weren't doing it because there was lots of money. We weren't doing it because it was the thing that adults did. It was the thing that kids did. And if you really want to get kids involved, you get them stuff that is special and affordable. Better yet, maybe even free. So in the early 90s, we had wrapper redemptions. Great. I can buy 3 or 5 packs of Ultra, send it in, and get a couple of special cards. And that is such a magical experience for kids. Well, what about these disposable boxes? Think about the waste. You have a box, and inside you have wrappers, and inside you have the cards. So you got to take the wrappers, throw them away. You got to throw away the box. Well, it was realized that the box is cardboard like the cards, and you're printing on one surface. So all you need to do is print on the back side, and you got yourself a card. Pacific figured this out first, and then Don Russ, and then Topps got into it and took it to another level. The biggest thing that Topps did was that they made 4 different panels, 16 total individual cards that you could cut out. That made it collectible. It wasn't just cards on a box, which is what Don Russ did. This meant that you could actually pursue it. And for kids, it was amazing because if you're in the grocery store and you find there's a box and it has 4 packs in it, buy all 4 packs, go up to the cash register and say, I'm going to take the box with me. Okay, no problem. And you got 4 packs and 4 special cards. In a card shop, it gives a level of interactivity where the card shop owner, he's just got to throw the box out. And so now he has the ability to not have to throw the box out, not that that's a big deal, but it's interfacing with young collectors where he's able to give them something special that they are going to cherish. He's going to enjoy that experience. It's a win for everybody. And all you need to do is print on the bottom of the box, which is, fine, and you're already going to print something there anyway, even if it's white. You just got to print on the inside as well. All right, you don't have to print on the inside, because when Topps stopped their tradition of this, Upper Deck and Classic started printing on theirs, but they only did it on one side, and it still worked really well. But the thing is, these are disposable. You're just going to throw them away, so you can print anything on them. Why not? Why not just make more special cards they don't need to be valuable. You just go ahead and do it. And it was such a great gift for all of us in collecting as we were coming up to be able to have this special element of sports cards that just expanded out a little bit more. So that's the third story of cardboard I'm going to be talking about this month. Every one of these 4 subjects I'm going to do a standalone video, so in the next couple of weeks, definitely look for those and check them out as they come out week by week. And if you have not subscribed to the channel, definitely do so. I've been doing this for, obviously this is chapter 9, so I've got 8 chapters of stories of cardboard, elevations to the binder of fame, all of that I've been doing. You can definitely check those out. And yeah. Otherwise, thank you very much for watching.